Half Dome is one of the most iconic peaks in the world, standing nearly 9,000 feet above the Yosemite Valley. It offers stunning views and a sense of accomplishment that puts it on many people's bucket lists. In this speech, I'll cover Half Dome's history, the hike's physical and mental challenges, and how to prepare for a safe and successful hike. My name's Alex Gunning, and as someone who loves the outdoors and has completed this hike, I want to share why it's special to me and how it will push all your limits. The hike of Half Dome is not just a physical test, it's also a mental challenge that requires careful planning and training and respect for nature. Let's start with the history of this incredible landmark. Half Dome started out as magma deep in the Earth's crust, and through the years it was slowly pushed up, hardened, and exposed, and then eroded to take its final shape, what we see today, by glaciers and rivers and water and everything like that. So the first documented ascent of Half Dome was on October 15th, 1875 by George G. Anderson. He was able to summit the top by using metal stakes and drilling holes into the granite and then sticking them in and slowly using that to climb up the rock and ascend to the summit. The next person to summit was John Muir on November 10th, 1875. He used the same route and technique as Anderson, and he described a garden at the summit with 4 clumps of pines, and then later stated, "It is some satisfaction to feel assured that no lazy person will ever trample these gardens," meaning that the hike was so challenging, it's like no people have ever been there before and no one lazy. You're gonna have to be fit if you're gonna try and go up there, because it is no small task. Today, Half Dome symbolizes natural beauty and a challenge for hikers. With its rising 8,836 feet above sea level with a 4,800 foot drop to the valley below. Now that you know its history, let's discuss the hike itself. Hiking Half Dome is one of the toughest challenges in Yosemite. For backpackers, there are many different starting options and trailheads depending on which wilderness permit you get. In order to get a wilderness permit, you're going to have to enter a lottery on recreation.gov, and sometimes it takes a couple of tries to be able to successfully win the lottery and actually get the permit, but you just have to keep trying and be patient and be flexible on the dates that you're going to start and your starting point, because honestly you really it's all about luck since it's a lottery. Personally, I started at the Cathedral Lakes Trailhead, which was 24 miles in total, but the hike can range from 15 to 34 miles depending on the starting point. Throughout the hike, you will gain 5,000 feet of elevation. This means that you must be very physically fit if you're going to be able to complete this challenge, because you're also going to be carrying around 20 or 30 pounds, even 40 pounds of gear and food and water the whole time, so you could sustain your life throughout this hike. Reaching the dome summit is really the hardest part of the whole hike. Once you pass the subdome, you're gonna reach the cables. So every 10 feet, the Yosemite staff puts up cables, and on these cables, there's basically cables held up by poles, and then between the poles, there's a 2x4. So then, as people are climbing up, they can get a good foot grip on the on the 2x4s, and then they can rest for a second and then continue to climb. But with the amount of people who try and attempt to summit every day, this can cause a lot of traffic, so it's really important that you just rest when you get there. It can take even up to an hour, I feel like, to get to the summit, because there's so many people. Even though it's only the last about 400 feet of the hike, it's slippery and it's dangerous. The weather is really unpredictable in the Yosemite Valley, and storms can suddenly roll in at any time, so it's vital that you have to check the weather, make sure that everything is looking clear before you attempt to go up the cables, because if a storm rolls in, you could easily slip and plummet to your death thousands of feet, or you could get stuck at the summit and have to be airlifted out or wait until the weather clears up for you to be able to go back down. Last summer, a sudden rainstorm rolled in while 20-year-old Grace Rolfe and her father were attempting to reach the summit. Unfortunately, Grace Rolfe slipped and her dad tried to catch her, but she ended up plummeting to her death hundreds of feet, and she died that day. Preparing for the hike is essential. So first you're going to want to do a lot of physical training, and you could do some hiking, stair climbing, leg workouts. That's all great prep. Cardio training so that you're ready for the steep climb in the thin air. Mental preparation is also very necessary. Oftentimes once you start the hike, you're not going to be turning around. So you must be ready to spend days in the wilderness and not really see any other humans. So if something happens, you have to be ready to handle it and be prepared. Having the right gear also makes a huge difference. You're going to want to have a water purifier since there's no water filling station in the wilderness. And you're going to need to have sturdy boots. Waterproof is also good. Personally, I fell in a river on the first day and my foot was wet in my boot for the next 2 days. It was very miserable. I got a lot of blisters and my foot actually did end up turning orange. I'm not sure why, but it was very upsetting. And you're also going to want to have good traction so that you're not slipping, especially on that slick granite on the dome. And you also need to have a bear box. It's required that if you're backpacking and camping in Yosemite that you have a bear box. And then you're also going to need a tent, a backpack, food. Bug spray is also very important. When I was there, I got bit so many times. Also good to invest in bug-proof clothes because I got bit so many times and my dad got bit 0 times and he was wearing bug-proof clothes and I was not. So it was really not enjoyable to be attacked and swarmed by mosquitoes every night because you're going to be going through a lot of wetlands, and then a lot of the campsites are going to be near rivers and lakes because you need to have a fresh source of water near you when you're camping. So yeah, it's really important to be prepared for the mosquitoes. They're attracted to those areas. Okay, in closing, hiking Half Dome is about more than just reaching the top. It's about pushing your limits and finding out what you're capable of. It's a reminder that sometimes the hardest paths can lead to the best views, and you're going to get to experience so much of the untouched beauty of Yosemite and see parts of the valley that you would have never even imagined seeing, and amazing, beautiful views and wildlife and plants and just so much untouched natural beauty. It's definitely an incredible memory to me, and it's the biggest sense of accomplishment I've ever felt in my life because it was so hard. If you get the chance to take on this hike, go for it. You won't regret it. Thanks for listening, and I hope you feel inspired to go outside and see more of the world.